All right, I'm going to do the recording now for obsessive compulsive disorder. Sorry, I have to go and wash my hands 50 times. No, just kidding. Okay, so for this one, basically the idea is take the agenda that I put together, and I'm going to reflect back some things for you here. Write out a good detailed outline based on the information in here, and then some other articles I'll have you read as well. So let's start it off here with a definition. You guys did a really nice job on the discussion board. The one that I thought was the best definition was what Ruth had to say with OCD, and maybe what you want to write in your notes is this nice definition. You can just copy and paste it in, but what I really liked about this is she got this from the National Institute of Mental Health. That is a really wonderful place to go. It's an evidence-based spot where you can get good information, and so when you get definitions, this is a wonderful approach to use. The second thing I put under there, under definition, actually I should probably change to treatment ideas, is just this idea, if we're moving into the treatment realm of OCD, the idea of type and token reductionism. Do you remember what these two terms were about? If you believe in type reductionism, then you believe that OCD as a disorder can be traced very specifically to some biological roots, and that if you simply fix the biology of that situation, you'll fix the disease. So that would be type reductionism. Token reductionism would believe that while there is some neurochemical locus for these things to be going on, it's really not that simple. You can change some of the biology, some of the serotonin, if you will, but behavioral and cognitive therapy on top of that are going to be quite useful. So that's the debate going on in this field. So the next category is basically some of the posts that you guys had, and I just wanted to share on a couple of them. Some of them, they were all pretty good. Some of them weren't really neurochemical basis, but they were still interesting to find, and you got good credit for doing it. Tracy posted something on Cymbalta, duloxetine. A clinical trial going on, and it was very interesting. Duloxetine, if you go to any sort of website, works as far as a mechanism on both serotonin and norepinephrine, blocking the reuptake. So these are considered SNRIs, as opposed to the older products, which was later described, I think, by a few of you. The older products like Zoloft, Paxil, and Prozac are just serotonin reuptake inhibitors. So the newer ones have a dual mechanism, and this study, there's no evidence yet as to see if this product might be indicated for the treatment of OCD. So it blocks the reuptake of serotonin and norepinephrine. It would be considered serotonergic norepinephrine agonist because they increase the amount of serotonin. Another product used, reported by Ruth, was ketamine. Now, ketamine is usually used for pain relief and anesthesia, but as you properly report here, it also seems to block glutamate NMDA receptors. So it's a glutamate blocker, and it might be useful for OCD. The Yale-Brown scale that is typically given out, that a lot of you pointed at, that is the dependent variable, and that's the one they're going to evaluate. That's used in a lot of these, that particular scale. Finally, and I think, I forget who posted this, maybe this was Ruth again, Zoloft, a clinical trial that is currently going on, testing the effects of Zoloft. Zoloft is one of the older products. The idea of, is it useful just for depression or OCD or PTSD, this gets into that type and token reductionism again. It might be useful for all these in some way. And then the other big issue here is psychotherapy on top of this. Will this really help? So the idea is summarize these three based on my acoustic presentation, and then we'll kind of get to the next level of the outline here. The question of what is evidence-based? Evidence-based is the idea, do we have enough evidence to support the use of any product in OCD, medically speaking? And there are different levels of evidence-based. The lowest level of evidence-based is simply opinion. Somebody shares their opinion. That could be anyone from the street. That could be a medical person. It would still be opinion-based. Hopefully a medical person would have more evidence for what they say. A case study. If you're talking medicine or behavioral therapy, a case study where something is described as being useful, that would be the second level of things. The third level would actually be a single-arm study. So in a single-arm study, what they basically do is they try an intervention to see if it actually helps things out. That's good. Even better than that is the fourth level, which is a randomized control trial. You have a control group, you have a group that gets the product, and you evaluate and compare statistically. If it's published in a peer-reviewed journal, that's even better. So that's considered a real high level of evidence-based. And then we even have two higher levels than that. There's something called systematic reviews, which is very similar to what's called a meta-analysis. And in these types of articles, they basically take all the available evidence out there, they look at it, and they evaluate it. They say, well, here's what the guidelines basically say. Here's what all the trials going on with Zoloft or with serotonergic products say about the treatment of OCD. The highest level of evidence-based is called a Cochrane review. And in a Cochrane review, they basically not only summarize what's been found out there, a couple of authors go and do that, but they even critically evaluate it. They say what's right, what's wrong, what else needs to occur. And many times for the systematic reviews in the Cochrane, especially for the Cochrane, they will only use randomized controlled trials. So what I would like you to do as far as your homework here is outline these messages I have shared, but then I've actually attached 3 articles for you. The first one is a systematic review on OCD. Let's see if I can pull that one up myself. It's a 12-page article. Just write down the title of it, and then most importantly, what I want you to do, and you don't need to have too much information on it, summarize what approach they take in the article. What are they doing in the article to come to their conclusions, and then share what those conclusions are. So share what they're about here, how they go about doing things. It's a lot of stuff actually from the abstract, but read through it, kind of skim through it and see what they're up to here, and just kind of share with me so I can see you know what a systematic review is. You don't need to have any of the details of the pages where they list all the different studies, but kind of the beginning and the end and the conclusions, just to get you used to a systematic review. The second article is a Cochrane review. And in this one, it comes from something called the Cochrane Library, which you can look up. It is a 40-page article. And it's actually, once again, just share what the title is and kind of do the same thing. Look through it, skim through it, see what they're about here, what they're trying to do, and look through it in terms of especially the abstract, and then the details, see what they're critiquing, what they're sharing, and then obviously at the end share what kind of conclusions they have actually reached and why we would actually believe it, because they look at obviously a lot of trials. And then last but not least, there is one final review where more recently, I think it was, what year was this done? It should say here somewhere. Let's see, 2010, they wanted to actually test for OCD whether or not adding things like Zyprexa, Seroquel, or Risperdal, these are second-generation antipsychotics, even on top of the serotonin products, would be useful. So what I'd like you to do, as it says in the outline, is basically just share what process and outcome they have, basically share the plain language summary. So for these assignments, the idea is put together a nice detailed outline with Roman numeral 1 and 2 based on definitions and what you had, and then go with number 3 with the different levels of things, and then add on number 4 with looking through these articles and mapping it back to what we're discussing. Feel free to send me drafts of this, and I hope this works out well. Thanks. Bye-bye.